Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Winback, and on today's episode of RPG Radio, we're putting the lore on the shelf a little bit so we can get back to basics with the completion of my commando build. For those of you that have been around the channel for a while, this is the build that I started in the beginner series way back when, and I intend to wrap it up with this video and the next. So, what happened during the beginner series? We played the commando up until about level 60, and then put it on the shelf so we could focus on other builds. Since the beginner playthrough guide was all said and done, there wasn't really much reason to play the commando anymore. But I got nostalgic for it, and I feel like giving it some attention because he definitely deserves it. Just carpets upon carpets of fire and raining meteors everywhere. Fire builds are extremely easy to get going, if I do say so myself. Especially if you go demolitionist. I mean, the game gives it to you. All sorts of over the place. So, my particular brand of commando likes to focus on the Blackwater cocktail and standing in the middle of it while the enemies try to deal damage. It's all about being tanky. It's all about letting the enemy die from either hitting you or burning in the infinite amounts of fire and meteors raining down from above. So, the pinnacle of this build is going to be a Blackwater cocktail. You're going to want to max that one out. You're also going to want to put a lot of points into Blitz because the commando is a demolitionist and soldier build. That is the two classes that we're getting to work together. After you take Blitz, well, the reason that you need Blitz is because it is going to be used for reducing a lot of defensive ability? Yes, defensive ability, because Blackwater Cocktail reduces offensive ability. But anyway, the reason that you reduce defensive ability of an enemy is so that you can get more crits on them. The higher your offensive ability is than their DA, means that you crit them more often. So, all that being said, Blitz is important because you can take Blitz with the modifier to reduce the defensive ability of the enemies. Not to mention there are a number of other abilities in this kit that are going to be doing the same thing. So, it's going to be pretty good. You may have witnessed the flashbang on my right click. It's also reducing DA while we just stand here and eat all kinds of damage. Now, I apologize if the video is a little bit more unedited than it usually is. I got a little bit rushed this week and wasn't able to finish the lore stuff that I wanted to do. So instead, we're doing a playthrough on the commando. Just doing a short Port Valbury run, seeing how far we can make it. I'm losing a lot of energy, and I don't like that. I'm not a huge fan. Anyway, the build didn't have energy issues until just now. And I don't know if that's the enemies leeching energy from me or if I'm just pushing too many buttons. But you never know. Could be either. Anyway, could be both. Where is the exit? There it is. Excuse me, sir. I already showed you my ID. Just because it's fake doesn't mean you can deny me entrance unless you're going to accuse me of something. So, important parts of this build. Like I mentioned, your two big ones are going to be Blackwater Cocktail and Blitz. After that, there are a couple soldier abilities that'll still be pretty important for what we're rocking here, namely your War Cry. That is your taunt, as far as pulling people into the flames, because you can't move the flames once you've dropped them. And you can't move your thermite mines either, which are another pretty big important part coming from the demolitionist. That being said, That being said, Warcry is also going to be able to reduce resistances, and I believe it also reduces defensive ability with the modifier. Let's have a look real quick, shall we? Reduces damage. Wait a minute. Ooh, wrong button. Reduces physical resistances. That's what I thought. Was thinking of the wrong ability, but only halfway. So, more than that though, Warcry pulls people in. They have to come into your flame, and that is when they get toasted up. Nice and quick, like a Subway 5-inch foot long. $5 foot long. So that didn't make sense at all. What? Something just happens to your brain when you hit the record button. Even though you're not necessarily talking with anybody in front of you, talking to yourself is even more nerve-wracking than talking to people. Anyway, back to what we were doing. Besides rambling, you know? Pick up that belt. Gotta go for this stupid crystal. But let's talk about thermite mines. Thermite mines are the secondary damage dealer in this build. Thermite mines actually last incredibly long because we picked up the Martin's Crest. Monster Infrequent. Words. We picked up that Martin's Crest. Monster Infrequent, which lets the thermite mines live for an additional 12 seconds, and it lets them do a lot more damage. Not only that, they're doing chaos damage, which is the other type of damage that we're going for, apart from fire and burn. And the thermite mines reduce the resistances of the guys that they're hitting. It's pretty cool. On top of that, we have affixed to them the Devotion Fisher. No, that's the ability coming from. The actual devotion itself, I think, is Mage. I want to say it's Mage, because I'm thinking it's also Scholar, but I'm pretty sure the one that I'm thinking of that it also could be is Scholar's Light. So, pretty positive it's Mage. But, you know, that's the guy holding up the flaming wand. It's bottom left side of the devotion tree. You can't miss it. It's all fiery. Just type in fire. You'll see what I'm talking about. Anyway, Fisher has a 15% chance to go off when we are... ooh, Manticore Eye. Nice. When we're hitting people with the thermite mines. And considering that there's always about 1 million enemies on the screen, and our thermite mines live for so long, those fissures do pop off relatively often. The other devotion that we're using is Ulswin's Torch. That's the big outer... well, the big outer constellation that we went for. Ulswin's Torch, super good for basically anybody looking to do fire damage. And that is what is raining down the meteors. The meteor shower comes from Ulswin's Torch. I always get lost in Port Valkyrie. That is the meteor rain. That's doing all the damage. And since it is coming from Blackwater Cocktail, and Blackwater Cocktail's AoE is so large, while being on such a short cooldown, we basically rain meteors forever. We also have a weapon that I ended up building called the Herald of Blazing Ends, which has a 10% chance on attack to drop a big super meteor. So, if ever there was a commando that didn't seem much like a commando, this was it. We're basically Wizard Commando. And then if anybody can tell me where my character's name comes from, your niche 90s nostalgia, niche 90s nostalgia meter is off the charts. I mean, you deserve a gold medal. You can tell me the reference. My character's name. His name is Barnyard, too. I don't know if that's actually shown up anywhere. It doesn't. I don't have it listed. Well, enough rambling. Back to the build. So, devotion-wise, there is really just the one. No, that's not true. I wanted to go with just Ulzwin's Torch, but since we're doing chaos damage, it was kind of just too easy to pick Abomination. At least the right side of Abomination. I'm not using the acid side of things just because I don't need to, but the chaos side of the Abomination constellation is incredibly useful. Also giving us another devotion ability as well. I need everybody to get into the carpet of fire. I'm gonna melt them all. I really would like to get this build up to ultimate as soon as possible. I have a bunch of clarity potions, but I don't really want to start, you know, just ripping them out of nowhere. Who do we have? Celestial power. Where is it? Excuse me, sir. Farty Alien Death Cloud, could you go away? More manticores! I think it's actually, it's one of those that gets affixed to a passive, isn't it? Let me take a look here just a second. Where is it? There it is. Oh, it's equipped to Fire Strike. That makes much more sense. See, that's what I thought. But doing some big chaos damage, actually very helpful, since Fire Strike is our backup AoE auto attack. We have to be able to still deal damage while we're standing there taking damage. So, punching explosive strike is the way to go. I'm not going in there. I don't think I would have a problem with it, but I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time inside a mini dungeon, inside a key dungeon, while I'm just trying to wrap this shit up. How do I... There it is. That thing breaks, but you can't click on it until you click on it. Absolutely nothing. Maybe I should just not click those until I get to ultimate. The big stashes. So much lore. We did read all of this lore in the Port Valkyrie lore video if you're interested in that sort of thing. Not going to do it in this one because I've already done it. And reading the same thing twice in the same haunted voices isn't particularly my thing, at least not at the moment. Just trying to blitz past all of these absolute goobers so I can get goofy. Just wants to kill Van Aldrich and his council of goons. There it is. Fort entrance number 2. Numero dos. It's a shrine. That's probably not bad. That's not totally time wasting, is it? Might be providing some purples. I don't want to let any outside influence come in while I'm dealing with this shrine. Oh, that was me pushing the wrong button. Excuse me, sir. Could you die? This is a Wendy's. It's not really a Wendy's. You get the tone of what I'm trying to do. And they can still shoot me from atop the roof. So it's completely futile for me to try not to just light up the monster shrine, which is fine because none of them are dealing any damage to me yet. And this kit actually has a couple of built-in passive panic buttons. I don't even have to push them. The soldier just comes with them. Damn, I hate it when the Colossus, like the Colossi, the big dudes, just come jumping out of the ground with the Aether Shrines. It's the most clear spike of ethereal power when it comes to anything that they do in the game. You hit a monster shrine, you hit an ethereal monster shrine, and you're just going to get your nuts slapped off directly into your face. So let's get rid of those for some room. Don't need that, don't need that, that. or that. Give me the blue stuff and the purple stuff. There we go. Oops. What's the level on this? 82. That's what I thought. All right. Where were we? What was I talking about? Devotions. Right. There are two actually small devotions that are very helpful for this build as well. You'll pick them up early on, and they will actually maintain their usefulness throughout the entirety of your playthrough. So those are going to be Imp and I think it's Demon? Can't... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is just Demon. I'm pretty sure it is just called Demon. But both of those have basically activatable passive fire that will shoot out of your character as you are attacking or getting hit. And the Imp cooldown specifically, I think, or the Imp ability doesn't have a cooldown, so as long as it's activating, it can just forever activate, which is fantastic because I'm pretty sure it's doing fire and chaos damage, which is exactly what we're going for anyway. Get on in here, brothers. I'm gonna battle cry you right where you need to be. Do I have any? I think I have like one. Yeah, there we go. Treasure trove activated, and ethereal missive. That's not bad. I'll take that. That was worth the dynamite. So anyway, those two devotions really help unlock the rest of the board, and since they are giving you very good passive abilities on top of everything else, it's just a kind of an easy way to get to where you want to go, which is ultimately Ulzwin's Torch and Abomination. So yeah, I mean, in keeping with the theme of a very beginner-friendly build, this one is going to use some beginner-friendly devotions. There's a lot of other passive devotions going on there as well, like Spider, but we'll talk about those more in the next video, the ultimate iteration for the Commando, because they may need to change depending on my resistances and the lack thereof in the next difficulty. It was full of monsters! They thought they could trick me with the big shiny box. It's like a mimic, except, you know, a clown car at the same time. Teeny tiny little car full of big angry monsters. Excuse me. Okay, thank you. I'm looking for the leader. Show me the boss so I can kick him in the teeth. Oh no. Did I go the wrong direction? It's always friggin' dicks. I hate Port Valkyrie. It was just the closest key dungeon around, and you know, I don't want to keep running through the same story material that we've got because we're already working on getting through the story in its own right. So Port Valkyrie though is my least favorite roguelike or key dungeon, challenge dungeon, whatever you want to call them. This is the worst. The best? Well, Bastion of Chaos is kind of junk too. It's kind of a coin flip. Maybe it's Bastion of Chaos just because Port Valkyrie is a little bit nicer to look at. So, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. Bastion of Chaos is the worst. Port Valkyrie is a close second for worst. Steps of Torment's right in the middle. It's nice, good equalizer. Ancient Grove, very good, with the exception of the boss. I really like Ancient Grove. And then there is... oh, there's the Act 7 dungeon that I've done very sparingly because I never ever get to that point in these playthroughs where I'm just grinding. It's always skipping Act 7 because you're just trying to blitz through the game, get as much XP as possible. I'm rambling again. See, this is the trade-off. You get my unhinged thought process in these play while talk builds videos, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I could be a lot more funny. But then again, it's like you're trading a 5% funny chance for some edited script. I don't think it's a contest there. Then again, maybe I'm just not a funny writer either. Maybe you take the comedy where you can get it. Alara Starfire. Maybe you just don't. Maybe you just die. The bridges are tiny, the roofs are big, they're full of enemies, and I need to continue talking about my build. If you hadn't noticed already, there are 6 passives going on at any given moment that we have activated. So, those are going to include Counter-Strike, Menhir's Bulwark. We've got Vindictive Flame from the Demolitionist side of things. I already mentioned Counter-Strike. There is the... Ooh, what's it called? Flame Touched. That is also coming from the Demolitionist side of things. Flame Touched is more for letting our auto attacks hit harder, because whacking people with the good stick is a good thing. But Bulwark and Counter-Strike are for letting us get hit more often, as well as Vindictive Flame doing the same thing. Vindictive Flame doing a lot of retaliation for us and firing off some really scary lightning bolts to shred enemies with that fire damage. We also have some gear-specific passives like Ignifar's Presence. And we've got a component going on for the... well, it's the Enchanted Flint giving us the burning weapons. So just even more fire damage. We'll probably swap that out for a seal soon here, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time worrying about components and items until we get to Ultimate. And when we do get to Ultimate, I promise I'll use my scripted thoughts to tell you exactly what it is about the build that you should be paying attention to. But since we're only in Elite right now, I think it's safe to say that this is just a relaxed fit video, you know? We're just doing some side stories. It's just a little bit of fun. Isn't that nice? Man. Watching big bads just absolutely melt is one of my favorite pastimes. Just raining the fire down. Always fire. Popped all of their shields at this point. I'm just not taking any damage from them whatsoever, and it just feels so good. That's probably going to change once we hit Ultimate, but for now, I'm pretty happy just using my full tank man balls on top of that bad guy's forehead. I bet he appreciated that. Let's go open some chests. Nothing. Cool. I'm not going to go downstairs. I don't feel like talking to that lady. You'll find out in another lore video what happens to her, but I'm not going to spoil anything, so you've been warned. Get out of here. I don't need you. We're going to take the Amarastan Pauldrons instead. Now, that is going to be it for the Elite run of the Commando build. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I was just kind of talking out of my ass the whole time, so hopefully it doesn't come off as goofy as I think it is. But thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I'll be back next week with the continuation or the finale of the Commando build, and you guys can see actually how I process thoughts and build this character to last in the higher difficulties. So, thank you so much. Peace out, everybody.